Yeah, you're a champion in my opinion, Brian. Even you remind me of Mark Martin. You don't have to have a trophy to be a champion. You know what I mean? As long as you leave that good impact on race fans and others. You know what I mean?
Mark Martin was a good guy. I got to know him quite well in throughout all the years too. Great guy. We did a lot of Ford things together, and Mark is truly a good guy. And the one thing that we got that view through the windshield, and that there's no trophy that can even explain that.
Indeed.
Indeed. So for my last questions, I got to ask you some stuff regarding your career, which is what was your worst moment if you had to pick?
Every weekend I didn't do good, which was a lot of weekends. What people don't realize is, the racing, and I try to explain it to my kids, and try to rationalize it myself. There's more bad weekends than good weekends. But when you look back on it, you were out doing what you love to do, the challenges, you win a handful of races and you lose a lot of them. And you come close to winning championships and you lose all of them except for the ones that you steal. So there's, I don't want to say they're bad moments. They're not. I've never had any, some of the worst moments I had, we lost some friends on a race weekend. We lost Jeff Krosnoff, which was a good friend at the Toronto IndyCar race. We were standing right there when it happened. It was horrible. And we lost a lot of good friends that way. Those were the worst days. The driving days, I can complain like an old woman, but it wouldn't make a difference, because the bad day in a race car is better than a good day doing anything else.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to witness that. I almost went to the race where Dan Weldon was killed, and a friend of mine went to the race as a security guard and invited me to go, but I had to say no because of things that were going on, and good reason, because then I watched it on television and saw the accident and then felt horrible for everyone involved. Like, that was probably the worst IndyCar wreck I had seen probably in a long time. And then I went upstairs to make a meal, and within 15 minutes I got a text from my friend telling me that Weldon was dead, and they hadn't announced it yet. Yeah.
Well, in the early years, that was a bigger piece of racing, and thanks to NASCAR and the protective equipment companies, racing got, and still is, very, very much, much less consequential than it was in the past. I mean, the safety's come a long, long, long way, and I'm happy for the guys that are driving now, because there was a point back when where you lost people, and we lost them on a regular basis, and then that's a hard thing to take.
Yeah. So aside from that, did you have like one of those races like in Days of Thunder where you hit anything and everything to the point where you might as well have hit the pace car?
Yeah, actually that happened a fair bit. And so, and that was almost every weekend. If there wasn't contact, we weren't really racing. We had some rough ones. And in my career, I was fortunate. I did finish most of the races I started. And that was one of the things that I was gifted with, was the ability to bring a car home. But we left a lot of race cars and pieces on the racetrack. Left a lot of what could have been or should have been would be championships and or wins on the track by being silly and doing stupid things. And looking back on it, that's what it took. What it takes to make the race cars, all that stuff. The disappointment of losing a transmission, an engine, a tire, having a wreck, having someone turn you around when you're in the lead. I mean, you get all that, and you wake up the next weekend, you go do it again, and you wash it off, and you kind of just deal. And like every sport, you're not going to win every one, and the ones you do win make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, for sure. Did you ever have moments behind the wheel where someone ran into you or nudged you and you responded with?
Oh yeah, we've had many conversations that went way past the race car and into the paddock. Yes, those weren't my greatest moments in life, but yes, I had a couple of those where I had to be restrained by friends and family to keep from jumping the fence and airing my grievances. But that's the passion that you have as well. Yeah, here when you're competitive, it's everything all the time. You're all in.
So this is my last question I have, which is how can your journey impact race fans?
Well, we're talking. I never really considered myself to have that many fans. I mean, what was fantastic to me were the things that getting a letter in the mail or someone, hey, will you sign this picture and send it back to me? I'm still dumbfounded by the envelopes I still get in the mail every once in a while that people knew who I was. I didn't race for that reason. That was never the reason I was in a car. It never drove me to be anything other than just a participant. But the one thing that we were able to do, and I really appreciate what racing did for me, is being able to go and do a little bit of public talking or speak to kids in children's hospitals. We did that a fair bit, and be able to see the look on their faces. I went, after I won the Minneapolis Grand Prix, I went and gave the trophy to a young guy who was paralyzed in a bicycle accident. And I sat with him for quite a while. It was heart-wrenching to see him in that condition. And I got a letter from his mother, I don't know, maybe 6 months later, saying he was actually coming around, moving and doing quite well. And that was extremely rewarding.
That is amazing. That reminds me of Ryan Blaney every time he wins a race, giving a checkered flag to a random fan, you know?
Yeah. I would always be asked, hey, where did I get that T-shirt? And taking it off my back and saying, I know where to get another one. Here you go. Yeah, I had, those were things that you just did for people because you could, and that is fun. And people who remember you, the corner workers and the rescue crews who knew you by name, and and the driver sitting in a driver meeting and chatting it up with a Jimmy Johnson because he knows who you are. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I hope you'll check your mail soon because I've sent out a couple autograph requests over the year.
I'll be looking, Doug. I'll be looking, buddy.
All right. So where can people find you?
Well, yeah, I don't do a lot of social media. I leave that to my kids. I kind of stay on the other side of that. I'm Brian Simo at yahoo.com Brian Simo at ymail.com. I'm not a recluse, but I don't have that many people reaching out, and I do most of my conversing through my kids these days.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Boris once said the same thing about social media. He said once that he has Facebook, but he doesn't even know how to use it.
Yeah, we're that era that we didn't grow up with it, and now I can't fathom. I struggle with technology anyway, but no, I don't know that I'd want the attention, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know what you mean. All righty, so that's all I have for now, but I thank you for coming on.
Thanks for coming
Doug,
on, Brian.
thank you guys. Nice to meet you guys as well. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So everybody, I'd like to thank Josh for co-hosting, and most importantly, thanks to Brian Simo for appearing on SFM, and we'll see you next time for the next episode.